So if your house came to the ground, you had to rebuild, you were guaranteed to rebuild.
Hi, I'm Caroline Gow in the Baird Warner Glenbrook office, and it's nice to be back in the office doing interviews. And my friend Matt Settler came over to visit us today. And Matt is with a new insurance brokerage company, and he switched over to Dasco Insurance, and he's helped the Gow family with our policies. And so I thought it would be interesting to have Matt answer some frequently asked questions, because I know, having just gone through the process, it was very confusing to try to compare apples to apples and to understand what to look for in a policy. So Matt, thanks for coming over today.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about what your new business is.
Sure, so I've been in the industry now for a little over 8 years, and my focus is home, auto, and business insurance, and anything related to those lines of insurance. So we worked on all different kinds of things, whether it be big or small. Everything's a challenge, and we really enjoy it, so it's a lot of fun.
Perfect. So what is the best way to shop for insurance when currently when people come to you, they have some kind of a policy in place. So how do you make the process easier?
So, I'm a little bit impartial. I think that going through an independent broker is a really easy process. We have a lot of knowledge in the industry. We work with multiple different carriers, versus if you were going to a more of a captive agent, you would be only getting that one product. Where we can shop that product through all different lines and all different carriers, and really show you what your options are and talk about all the different possibilities for you. So I think that's the easiest way to do it, especially if you get an independent broker that is knowledgeable in the industry.
Sounds good. And what are some must-haves that a homeowner should seek when shopping for a new policy?
Sure, it's a great question. So I think for starters, you definitely want to make sure that your dwelling is insured to value. And basically what that means is that, God forbid that your home had, suffered a claim and you need to rebuild. And you want to make sure that you had enough money coming from the insurance company to cover that situation. There's, you start with your base dwelling coverage, and then you can add extra replacement coverage to it, which we usually do. And you can also do things like guaranteed. So if your house came to the ground, you had to rebuild, you were guaranteed to rebuild. And there wasn't necessarily a cap on the dollars. I think that's a good starting point. One of the big things that we always recommend to our clients, anybody with a basement, crawl space, finished or unfinished, would be that water backup coverage. Without that coverage, you're not covered. So that's if your sump pump overflows and fails, you want to make sure you have coverage for it and make sure you have enough coverage. So that's another key component, I think, to your home insurance policy.
Interesting. I'll have to take a look at that. So is this myth or true? I know I had this problem when we were buying our house. Is it true that when you're shopping for a new home, the claim history of the house you're buying actually matters, whether that seller has had claims recently?
So it definitely will show up when we're quoting, and we will see that. Most times it will tell us that this is not necessarily yours, you didn't file this claim. In my experience in the 8 to 9 years I've been doing this now, I have not seen that affect the premium. We tell the system this is previous homeowner liability. The system doesn't always know that, so we make sure. That's why when I work with clients, I ask a lot of questions. And I want to know as much information as possible so that I can get you the most accurate and the best coverage. So again, in my experience, I have not seen that affect the premium unless it's a claim that is not resolved. If this claim is a water claim and the damage has not been resolved to the satisfaction of the carrier, they might tack on a surcharge.
Interesting. At that point. Okay, good. So is there a hack that you can tell somebody when they're shopping for their new policy to get the lowest cost that they can, but also not sacrificing their coverage?
Sure, I wouldn't say there's a hack. There is no going in the system and I make it up, right? I go in the system and I give the information that's necessary, and there are ways to lower your premium. The biggest way you can do that is by raising your deductible. So the key thought here is that higher deductible, lower premium. And why is that? That's because the higher the deductible means the more money you're willing to put out if there is a claim situation. So you're taking on more of the risk versus saying to the insurance company, you need to pay me more to get my home fixed. So the higher the deductible, the lower the premium. That's probably the number one thing I would say can get your home premium down. The other ways are not, in my book, ethical, and I wouldn't suggest those.
What's the average home deductible?
That's a tough question. It really all comes down to the person you're working with. I would say middle of the road is probably $1,000 to $1,500, but I have clients that are up in the $5,000 range. It all just depends on how big your home is, how expensive your home is. There's multiple different reasons why you would go with a bigger deductible.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this week we've been hearing a lot about ice damming and record snow melt and all this.
Sure.
Is there anything that people can do to prevent that?
So I definitely, the one thing that I do, especially in my own home, is roof raking. I will, there's a piece of equipment you buy called a roof rake. You go out and you scrape about 3 feet up on the roof. That's what I do. I am not a roofer, so I can't tell you the exacts of it, but scraping off that top layer of snow will expose the ice underneath, and on a sunny day, you can then get that ice to melt, and it won't refreeze then overnight, which is what causes more of a dam, and starts to build up over time. The more and more we have cold temperatures in the evening, you'll get a bigger ice dam, which starts to cause more of a leak.
So I know a couple people have had problems recently where the water's starting to come inside. Is that something that could be considered covered under the homeowner's policy?
There's a good chance that it would be, but every policy is different. Every policy jacket has more definitions in it. So you'd want your insurance agent to definitely review that with you and make sure that those items are covered.
Cool. So what is the best way to contact you if somebody has a question, they'd like to do some new policy or do some shopping? How would they reach you?
Sure. The easiest way to reach me is to call me. And would you like me to provide my
Yes, please,
phone
and
number?
we'll put it at the bottom too.
Yeah, no problem. So my direct line would be 847-440-6840. Or you can also email me at Dasco Insurance, and my email is Matt, MATTS, at Dasco, DASCOINS.com. Those are the two easiest ways to get a hold of me.
Great, thank you so much. It's really
Of course,
helpful.
thanks,
I look forward to my new policy. Thank
Excellent,
you.
thank you.
Do you want more invaluable tips like these? Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Weekly we share real estate market activity, things about your home everything. I'd love to connect with you.